This video is not about the latest drama surrounding Mr. Beast. Instead, we're going to dissect the character Mr. Beast and his actions from a psychological and a philosophical lens. We're going to examine his obsession with power, the deeper issues with his content, the philosophy behind his philanthropy, his morality and his underlying motivations, and ultimately, what does this all mean for our society and why we should care about this. So let's dive in and find out if Mr. Beast is a hero or a villain. Or is there something else hiding behind the mask? Take a look at these two clips and notice the difference.
Everyone, my name is Philanthropy, and I just want to say a quick thank you, I guess. This was my 100th video. I was actually gonna make like a thank you for 2,000. First of all, it was 1,000 subs, and then I postponed it, and then it got to 2,000 subs, and then I postponed it, and then it's like 2,500 subs. It's like I never really been like I don't really care for numbers that much. What I care more about is the support for that I get from all you guys. That means so much more than just a random number. But
at the time I'm recording this video, I have 8,000 subscribers and 1.8 million views. So whenever you see this, compare these numbers to whatever I have when you watch this. Dude, if I don't have 1 million subscribers when you see this video, my entire life has been a failure. I hope I have 1 million subs. I better have 1 million subscribers when you guys see this.
There are two types of people in this world. Those who are driven by passion and those who are driven by power. Mr. Beast and PewDiePie are two very contrasting examples of this. To clarify from the beginning, in the case of Mr. Beast, when I say power, I don't think it's primarily about money. While in the beginning he might have started out wanting to be rich, ultimately he is not about the fancy cars and the extravagant lifestyle. It's more about fame and influence. People often overlook how Mr. Beast rose to the fame in the first place. Unlike PewDiePie, Mr. Beast was not the guy who got famous by making videos about his love for gaming or phone reviews. He was like a mad scientist trying to crack the YouTube algorithm by any means possible, whether it's cutting a board with a plastic knife or counting to 100,000 or saying Logan Paul for 100,000 times, and he succeeded. Great. Now you might be wondering, what's the problem? Don't we all want to be rich and famous? Well, this is where it starts getting tricky.
Now, Jack, a completely unrelated question. Do you like Mr. Beast?
No.
Jack,
Do you think Mr. Beast ruined YouTube?
yes. Now, in all honesty, Jack, why?
Because it became more about views, money, and popularity than it did about having fun.
One of the problems I see when content creators try to seek fame for the sake of seeking fame is it lacks one crucial element in their content: substance. What are Mr. Beast videos about exactly? Well, in his words, he wants to
I'm just focused on making the best videos possible. Best video possible. I want to make the best videos possible. Best video possible. Best videos possible. Best videos possible. Best videos. Original, giant, spectacles, never before seen, better than everyone else. Fucking huge, ginormous, best video in the goddamn world.
But what does that even mean? How do you define a best video? Is it about the views and the matrix? Is it about the production budget? For comparison, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that Mr. Beast videos are like Marvel movies. They're big spectacles carefully crafted to captivate a wider audience with shock factors, impressive stunts, eye-catching visuals, focusing solely on entertainment values, retention, and viral appeal rather than meaningful, substantive content. In the words of Martin Scorsese,
I don't know, say the value of a film that's like a theme park film, for example, the Marvel type pictures, where the theaters become amusement parks.
it's a roller coaster ride, and there's nothing wrong with going to an amusement park, just like there's nothing wrong with Mr. Beast's content in itself. What becomes a problem is when big YouTubers like Mr. Beast take this approach, people start copying them, and it starts to invade the platform. The content becomes more about spectacles and retention than substance and meaning. And it overshadows creative and meaningful content, just like how Disney is invading traders and movies like Irishman have to be settled for Netflix.
Everything's a copy of a copy of a copy.
That's a different experience, and it's not even. I was saying earlier, it's not cinema; it's something else. You know, whether you go for that or not, but it is something else, and we shouldn't be invaded by it. And And so that's a big issue. That's a big issue.
And this issue is actually way bigger than we think it is, because this is not just a problem specific to YouTube or cinemas. It's happening everywhere. Take the video game industry, for example, where the pay-to-win games are taking over. And we've got games with absurdly overpriced battle passes and cosmetics that prioritize draining players' wallets instead of giving game designers any room to play with their creativity. Because who needs innovation when you can just milk gamers for every penny, right? A particularly troubling example I see is a trend started by Rupi Kaur with her edgy Instagram poetry, which has convinced countless self-proclaimed poets who think sharing their feelings online qualifies as poetry, that they can just slap some random thoughts into a book and call it art. And they're taking up shelf spaces in the bookstores. This is not just frustrating for genuine poets, it highlights how commercial motivations can degrade art. This whole thing ties back to my original point. When creators are driven by power and fame, their content lacks substance, resulting in shallow content dominating the platform where genuine creative expression get overshadowed. The question here is this the direction that we want our society to take? Honestly, I don't like it. In fact, I despise it, because I think we're sacrificing something way more valuable like authenticity, creativity, and essence for the sake of money and fame by merely relying on the art of rhetoric. Now, here's another intriguing question. Are people like Mr. Beast and Rupi Kaur the ones to blame here for diminishing the quality of content? Or should we blame YouTube and Instagram because the algorithm is the one that promotes this? Because they too are driven by the same desire for power and control. So should we blame the human nature for seeking power itself? Well, I think if we're going to hold anyone accountable, then we should hold everyone accountable. But this is something we definitely need to think more about. Let me know what's your take on this. The obsession with power is an endless pursuit. The more you get, the more you want, and you're never truly satisfied. In 2023, Mr. Beast posted a poll in Twitter saying, "If I ran for president, would you vote me?" And the results was this. After this incident, he posted this again in 2024, saying, "If we lower the age to run for president, I'll jump in the race." And I bring this up because, well, first of all, I don't think he's kidding here, and to be honest, I don't think this is very unlikely situation either, even after all the current controversies, given the time frame. After all, after you've conquered YouTube, there's really not many places that you can go to feed your hunger for more power. Jimmy clearly doesn't realize that he's totally unqualified to run a country which requires expertise in policy making, international relationship, economics, social welfare, none of which is remotely related to running a YouTube channel. It's like mastering chess and thinking you can take on quantum mechanics. The point is, when you have fans, or dare I say stans, who actually consider you a god, maybe you start to believe in it. I don't think Mr. Beast wants to run for the president because he wants to solve the country's problems. I think he wants to run for president because he wants to be the president, which could potentially be detrimental for everyone. Plato once said, "Only those who do not seek power are qualified to hold it," because when you give it to those who are chasing it, they lose sight of everything else, and it's almost guaranteed that sooner or later they'll end up making decisions that can harm others and themselves. For Mr. Beast, it started with the Ava Tyson situation, and then this happened. And then this. Turns out Jimmy has quite a few skeletons in his closet. Well, apart from faking some of the videos and the raccoon being the paid actor, there are a lot of serious problematic things that Mr. Beast needs to address, like promoting illegal gambling to children, adding sugar to festivals and advertising it as healthy, selling fake signatures, Beast Game being extremely dangerous, Mr. Beast being on Discord server of Ava Tyson. There are all kinds of worms out there. And now, after all these allegations, instead of coming out and giving a statement and answer to his fans, Jimmy sent a cease and desist letter to Dogpack and is actively deleting any bad comments in his videos to save his image. We will see how this whole situation unfolds. For now, it's looking very ugly for Mr. Beast. and it will be interesting to see if he continues to silence people speaking against him, or he owns up his mistakes, takes it on the chin, and comes out a better person. Time will tell.
Do you think Jimmy really enjoys doing good and helping people?
I think Jimmy wants to be the best YouTuber. I think he is laser focused on one goal. And I think whatever he has to do to achieve that goal, he'll do. If you're going to do something nice for somebody and you stick a camera in their face while you do it, then you didn't do a nice thing for somebody. You gained something. There was a homeless guy on the street and you saw an opportunity for yourself and your image, and you gave one guy $10,000 who needed it to eat, and now the revenue you generated from that video is way more than what you gave. I think when he's generous on camera, it's the least authentic thing in the world.
Make no mistake, Mr. Beast is not a selfless philanthropist who is just putting his videos out there on YouTube to promote acts of kindness. He is a YouTuber who happens to find his niche in giving away money, and he also happens to enjoy doing it. I'm not saying either of this is good or bad, not yet. We can notice this from the very first video when he started to give away money.
Well, so I did my first brand deal. I'm sure you guys have heard the story, but for people that don't know, I was offered $5,000 for a video. But this was when I was like 19, and it was so much money. It's like, Mom, look, and I was like, double it, and I'll walk outside and I'll give it to a homeless person. And they're like, no, you won't. And I was like, double it. And I like pacing around my neighborhood for 3 hours convincing this guy, like on the phone, just double the money. I promise the video will go viral and I'll give it to a homeless person. I was like, $10,000 just looks better in a title. It'll get more views. I promise your app will do better. And I ended up getting $10,000 and then gave it away. And my mom's like, why don't you just give away $8,000, $9,000? Why all $10,000? I was like, Mom, it'll look better in the title.
The key word here is, it will look better on the title. Not because the homeless guy could use more money. But that does not take away from the fact that he actually gave homeless guy 10 grand and it probably changed his life. Great, then what's the issue? Well, first of all, we have to remember that there's a camera pointed at the guy trying to get his reaction. So technically, the money is not free. And yes,
Most people don't care if I use them for views.
but do they have a choice? Imagine you're a homeless person and your choices are either you starve or you get $10,000 for letting someone record you giving money and go viral on the internet for being homeless. This is a classic utilitarianism versus deontology problem in philosophy. You probably heard these words from the trolley problem. But if you haven't, simply put, utilitarianism says an action is right if it leads to most happiness for the greatest number of people. However, deontology focuses on the morality of actions themselves rather than the outcomes. It argues that certain actions are inherently right or wrong regardless of their consequences. To give you an example, let's say a man steals a loaf of bread from the supermarket, which costs about $3. Is this action good or bad? Well, most of us would say it's clearly bad, right? I mean, it's stealing. Now, let's add another layer to the story. What if this man has 2 kids starving on the road, and if he does not steal the bread, the kids will die? Does this change how he judges his actions? Utilitarianism would say his action is justified because it maximizes overall happiness for the greatest number of people. The kids get saved, the father is happy, and the store owner probably won't even notice the loss of $3 in his bank account. Utilitarianism would say the act of stealing is not good or bad in itself, it depends on the context. But on the other hand, from a deontological perspective, this action is still wrong. Stealing is inherently wrong because it violates a moral duty or a rule. Even if the man's intention is just to save his children, he is committing an immoral act by stealing. From a utilitarian perspective, Mr. Beast's actions can most likely be justified because in most cases they do produce a significant amount of good than bad. The homeless person gets money, millions of viewers are entertained, and it inspires viewers to do good. From a deontological standpoint, however, using someone's vulnerable situation for views is still morally wrong because it treats individuals as a means to an end rather than end in themselves. Immanuel Kant, a key figure in deontological ethics, emphasized that we should always treat people as ends in themselves and not merely just as tools for achieving our own goals. If you don't know who Kant is, in the world of philosophy, if Plato is like Michael Jordan, then Kant is like a Kobe Bryant. He's one of the GOATs. Jimmy uses people as means to an end all the time, sometimes in extreme ways, like telling kids to shelf up Feastables in supermarkets so he can sell his chocolates.
Imagine a 7-year-old looking for the Walmart manager so he can ask to stock shelves for a chance to be compensated.
Or violating the Geneva Convention by not letting his contestant turn the light off so he can get a time-lapse shot for his video.
So I just wanted to turn the lights off. And I'm vocalizing to people, I wish the lights would turn off. And I go up to my friend, my good friend. And I go, they're not turning the lights off. He goes, what? That's a war crime. We're not allowed to do that to terrorists.
There's a lot more depth to utilitarianism and deontological philosophy that we can uncover here. Personally, I find it unacceptable to use people as mere tools for achieving goals, especially when it reaches to such extremes, regardless of any outcomes. What do you think? Should we prioritize the greatest good even if it involves morally ambiguous methods, or should we adhere strict principles even if it means potentially helping fewer people?
Why do you want to be the best YouTuber?
I don't fucking know,
You don't
man.
know.
I just, ever since I was 13, I just made the decision I was going to be a YouTuber. I was going to die trying. Sounds different hearing me say it now, but I had that type of like devotion when I was younger.
Jimmy was just 13 years old when he started his YouTube journey. Most of his life has been dedicated to creating videos on YouTube. Growing up, he was mostly isolated, didn't develop many social skills, and had very few friends. He didn't go to college, missing out on the normal life experience that many of us go through. From the age of 13, his life has predominantly revolved around YouTube. And by the time he turned 19, he was already a millionaire. This lack of traditional and social life experience has significantly limited his perspective, morals, and how he approaches the world. The way I see it is either he is incapable or unwilling to see the bigger picture. For example, in 2022, MrBeast gave away 10,000 turkeys for families for Thanksgiving. And
in case you're wondering how we got 10,000 turkeys to give away, they all actually came from Genio. And the crazy thing is, this is their largest donation ever. Last year, they donated over 400,000 pounds of turkeys to people in need, like this. So I forbid you from buying a turkey from any other brand for this Thanksgiving.
Now, Genio is owned by Hormel Foods, which is worth over $18 billion, which also owns over 40 brands like Spam, Applegate, and Skippy Peanut Butter. You know, all the essentials. In 2021, Hormel and Smithfield, who MrBeast has also worked with in this video, were both accused of being involved in illegal price-fixing scheme to inflate prices of pork to increase their profit. So let's get this straight. On one hand, Hormel and Smithfield illegally inflate prices, which makes it unaffordable for poor families, while they give away turkeys with the help of MrBeast to feed the same people, all while promoting their brands to increase their profit. It's like cutting the power and then acting like a hero for lighting a candle. And let's not forget the Team Seas campaign. To this day, Team Seas has removed 34 million pounds of trash from the ocean, which is about 15,000 tons. To give you a perspective, each year 12 million more tons is dumped into the oceans. But that's not the issue. Something is always better than nothing, right? Here's where it gets interesting. Team Seas is funded by Ocean Cleanup, which is partners with Coca-Cola, which happens to be the biggest plastic polluter company in the world. So while MrBeast's campaign is making a difference, it is also indirectly promoting a company responsible for the very problem they're trying to solve. Talk about irony. MrBeast is not trying to solve the problem. He's trying to solve the symptoms of the problem rather than addressing the cause. He's applying band-aids to a wound instead of treating the infection that caused it. He's giving poor people money instead of trying to address why they are poor in the first place, all while getting more views and fame for himself. Now, is it MrBeast's job to solve world's economic issues and end hunger? No. But for someone who's built his entire brand around helping people, for someone who says he genuinely wants to help as much people as possible, and for someone who has the ambitions of becoming a president, he being in the position of power he's in right now, could definitely take a better approach that will ultimately do better for the society in a sustainable way instead of temporary quick fixes. I think part of the reason why he does not take the right initiative is because, well, ultimately he just wants to make the best videos possible, and feeding 10,000 families just makes up for a better video equals more views and fame. But Jimmy is objectively a genius when it comes to YouTube algorithm. I'm pretty sure if he really wanted to, he can get views directly addressing the cause. The reason I think he does not take the right initiative is because either he really just does not care, or he does not know how, because of his inability to see the bigger picture. Jimmy is a relatively young 26-year-old guy. His understanding of nuanced topics such as economics, social justice, and ethics is relatively underdeveloped, largely due to his limited exposure in these fields. His understanding is limited by his upbringings and life experience, which he didn't have much. Moreover, the team he surrounds himself with also lacks a deep expertise in these areas. Perhaps a viable solution if he really cares about the people would be for him to seek mentorship from experts in fields such as economics, social justice, and environmental science. Or here's a wild idea, maybe he could just lock himself in an island for a year and study about these issues, equip himself with all the tools necessary, and come out a wiser, stronger, and more effective force of good. Okay, with all these perspectives, let's address the main point of the video. Is Mr. Beast a hero or a villain? And sorry to disappoint, but my answer is, well, I think this is a wrong question to ask. And here lies the problem. Just about a month ago, most people wouldn't dare criticize Mr. Beast, and anyone who's even tried to speak against him are immediately dismissed as a hater or being jealous of him. Oh, how many trees have you planted? But now the tables have turned. Majority of people are calling Mr. Beast fraud and scammer, and anyone defending him? Obviously a 13-year-old delusional fan. Thinking is hard, that's why most people judge. It's easy to paint someone as heroes or villains, good or evil, while even in fiction, characters who are portrayed as straight-up villains often blurs the line between good and evil, making us question, is he really the bad guy? And characters who are portrayed as heroes can reveal darker aspects of themselves, forcing us to question if their actions are truly justified. All humans are flawed to a certain extent, more or less. For a long time, Mr. Beast was seen as a flawless person, but now that his flaws are coming to the surface, everyone is switching sides. Neither Jimmy was ever flawless, nor will he ever be. We need to move beyond the good and evil dichotomy, to form a sound judgment and hold him accountable for his actions instead of trying to fit him in one extreme or another, and trying to decide whether to glorify him or cancel him. Another thing we can learn from this is that we need to stop making anyone's image so powerful that they become practically invulnerable to criticism. Even now, apart from the regular people and some YouTubers, big names on YouTube like CoffeeZilla, who are known for their investigative content, are still avoiding talking about the subject, even though deep down they know how important this issue is, which makes us question about their own integrity. Are they afraid of potentially damaging their relationship with Mr. Beast? Is the relationship more important to them than what they stand for? Or do they really stand for what they say they stand for? If I were to give my final verdict, I don't think Jimmy is inherently and intentionally a bad or evil person, as in he wants to do bad deeds or he wants to hurt people. The conventional image of Mr. Beast for so long has always been the good selfless guy who gives away a lot of money because he wants to help people and make the world a better place. This is the mask that he has been wearing for so many years, and not many people could see through it, and now it's finally wearing thin. And when you take it off completely, you simply find a ruthlessly ambitious YouTuber who doesn't have much sense of morality, who is completely self-driven with his endless pursuit of power and success, who is willing to take extreme measures to get views and fame, which sometimes it happens to help people and sometimes tortures them. I don't think Jimmy ever sits down and thinks about what kind of broader impact he might have with his actions, which it's about time he starts doing so. And that brings us to our final chapter.
in 10 years, YouTube's going to be bigger than television ever was for culture, in America at least, in my opinion. And so I think a lot of people underestimate that, and I don't think people really understand just how, like, to be one of the top creators on the biggest social media platform, and that will also be the biggest in 10 years during that whole time, like the amount of value and how crazy that is. Like, you don't need a network, you don't need to go through people. You just are. You can do whatever you want, and you can influence people how you want. It's just wild.
As the saying goes, with great powers comes great responsibilities. After all, giving power to someone without a moral compass is like giving high school students an invitation to a party without any rules. It's all fun and games until the neighbor called the cops. Mr. Beast has 308 million subscribers in YouTube. That is almost equal to the population of an entire big country like America. With this level of massive power, his actions, both good and bad, will have consequences that exist way beyond YouTube or just the internet drama. Majority of Mr. Beast fans are kids, and kids, they're like sponges, soaking up whatever's around them. In this generation, YouTubers like Mr. Beast and other famous creators are basically raising the kids, shaping their values, aspirations, and understanding of the world, whether deliberately or not. Because apparently most parents are too busy handing them iPads instead of actually parenting them properly, and then they wonder why their kids turn out thinking the only career options are either a Fortnite gamer or a toy reviewer. It's not surprising that so many kids today aspire to become YouTubers and influencers themselves, seeing these creators as role models. Given this influence, it is necessary to ask, what values are being conveyed through this content? Do we want to raise a generation of influencers, streamers, vloggers, and pranksters whose dreams are determined by these algorithms, which are designed by people who most likely don't have our best intentions in mind? Because like it or not, ultimately these kids are the foundation that we're building our society upon. Is this the road we want to pave for the next generation? If not, then what are we going to do about it? Thank you for sticking around. If you found this discussion intriguing, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more insightful content. And do share your thoughts in the comments because I think this topic is really important to discuss. Until next time.